Hi, everyone. Hopefully, you can hear me well. If you have any questions, let me know, or issues with the connection. Today, I decided to do something a little bit different. Normally, you see me and Dion on one screen. Since he was traveling, he reached home in Spain today, so I'm excited about that. But that was a good occasion for me to do this session on my own and share my experience and hopefully gonna get more people. And meanwhile, I really wanted to start sharing my experience. I want to explain uh, what I've learned in the journey, what helped me to go through the most difficult periods. For many people, this is a period of separation, and this periods of healing, and just working with you as a twin flame, as a single twin flame, and the twin flame connection, because that's a big part, to see yourself as an individual part of this dynamic, and really working with those energies and bringing those energies back to you, and operating from this sense of wholeness, and how it's really the most important part, just to get those connections further and just operate with those soul connections. So one of the things that helped me mostly to get to this next stage was definitely the emotional detachment from the journey. And it doesn't mean that was um, denying the connection or trying to escape the connection. It was definitely acceptance of what happened to me, what happened. Oh, hi, Lorna. Good to see you here. Um, so this emotional detachment from the experience and this sense of a control. So it's, of course, you acknowledge the twin flame journey, you acknowledge the connection, you acknowledge all those ignition moments and the whole state, and you acknowledge that the love that you felt towards other person on a soul level, it was all real. So that's why you cannot really deny it, and you shouldn't, because that's as you would be denying your own nature. So I think that's the first step to do. If something is telling you that the journey is too painful and you just want to escape and you want to do anything with that anymore and just want to run away, that won't work, because you will be going to another extreme. So what the journey is really asking you is to find a peace in any situation that you're with um, currently, whether or not you're with a communication with another person. um, just kind of go against the problems and difficulties, and just to prove yourself, because that's the moment that we are starting to send out the proper signals that we are happy no matter what, and we are ready to work towards our inner happiness despite having another person or not. So I would say this emotional detachment, as much as it's difficult, because our emotional bodies in many cases are very strong, uh, and it can cause a lot of troubles. It's a very good practice just to not treat personally whatever happens within the connection, and however way the connection is evolving. Don't don't fall in these traps of guilt or trying to find a reason. Oh my god, why is this separation happening? Just to really see it objectively and try to see that as the part of your journey and your own evolution. Hi, Olya. Um, Glad to see you here, and I'm happy if that's helpful for you, and you have some specific questions that you are having some issues and you just don't know the answer, or don't know how to overcome this. There might be specific questions that you are having some issues and you just don't know the answer, or don't know how to overcome this. There might be something that I came across as well, and I'm really happy to share my experience, because I'm mindful that the journey for me so far, of course, like, I'm not super experienced yet. I try to share my experience as I go, And I think that's what is really precious, that whatever we share with Theo, we are living through that. And of course, there are more advancements that I'm going to be going through and more understanding about the journey. But I think it's very useful to kind of go through that experience together as a community. And that's how the power of sharing. So I'm really happy to do that. Um, so maybe one other thing that helped me is stop my expectations, or stop creating my own projections regarding how my life will unfold, especially after the separation moment when it happened. And then, of course, you want to be in control because you have your ideal version of your life with another person, and you try to, oh, hi, baby. Yeah, I had to do that. That was such a strong urge, with some difficulties at the beginning, but I decided to do it no matter what, and I'm happy to do that. Uh, but this removing the expectations from how your journey will unfold, whichever direction it will go, and allowing this, we call it divine time, but really just waiting for the proper moment to make yourself ready, to be ready for the next phase of the connection. And here, the universe, the moment you realize that you're ready, you're patient, and you're allowing the universe to kind of flow through you and just express uh, the proper way the connection should go, you're becoming like a vessel of those energies. And that's how the universe can kind of step in and help you to facilitate other meetings with other soul connections, or maybe next meetings with your twin flame. But you are going to be operating from this state of readiness to embrace whatever comes your way. So you are putting aside any timeline, any ideas. When are you going to reconnect with your counterpart? Anything that it's putting any limits in terms of, oh, I want this way, or I feel that's gonna go this way. Because that's the part of our intuition that sometimes it's easy to mix our mind with our intuition, as if mind will be playing those tricks and will be sending those messages, and they can really feel like, oh, I know it's gonna happen because that's my inner knowing. But honestly, many people are having those inner knowings regarding, for example, their twin flame getting back to them or sending them some beautiful messages, but nothing is really happening in 3D. So those kinds of moments, it's, of course, we can call that there's like a 5D communication, that it's not manifesting, but it's still happening. But in my opinion, if we are talking about the soul connection, it's striving to manifest on 3D. So the moments that you're getting some communications from your twin and getting some energetic messages, and it doesn't seem to match reality, it kind of feels like it doesn't match the current timeline you're at. So it still happens, but to really embrace the wholeness and all dimensions of this journey, 3D, 5D, 10D, all of them, they should kind of match, and you should see that it's going in one direction. So probably that's good way to observe yourself. If you have those messages and other planes that are not matching, just to see if there's no some block on your side. Okay, we have comment from Lorna. In my experience, these connections happen for many reasons. It's not necessarily about being in a partnership. Many spend time waiting for others. Thank you for your insight on these connections. That's exactly what's happening, because that's what's the current state of understanding. That you met your twin flame just to be with them, and it's a given. And I'm not claiming that it's not happening, because I believe that there are people who are coming together. But what I've understood, it's you have a choice, whether you want to be in as a passive state as a twin flame, and you kind of restrict yourself just for this single connection, or you're ready to operate even though you know that it's a twin flame. Of course, like that was, you accept those realities, all of those informations that other people are sharing, meaning, okay, that's your 100% vibrational match, that's your soul in another body, that's divine connection, all of those information, it's great. but it's, can you operate even if you don't have this beautiful person that you've met, but can you operate no matter what? Like, can you choose evolution anyways and just not put yourself into this waiting period and just, depend on the decision of this other person? And I'm not saying, again, you're not stepping out of your journey, you're just kind of actively getting involved and accept, okay, that's the current reality. Like, even though that was this special connection, this soul connection that ignited me in the journey, the whole purpose was just to ignite me and then operate further. The evolution really doesn't want to be stuck on within my one mindset. And of course, evolution is not really our universe is not very happy when you deny those connections. As I said, it's just acceptance is different with rejection. Acceptance and gratitude, I think that's a very powerful tools. Like, once you are able to embrace this kind of mindset, you can progress much further, because you will see how all of those experiences are helping you. And it's just, we are all here. And the moment I started embrace more this kind of perspective, I can really see those connections. Those are my brothers, those are my sisters that were kind of helping each other. And it happens to this moment. What we are doing with Dio, we are still trying to understand those connections. More and more understandings are coming, but it's clear to me that we were kind of matched together to join with this journey together, just to walk this path and give this example for people, maybe not to be so stiff and not to be so strict in their beliefs, and just be ready to really embrace whatever universe is sending, right? Whoever is this, if you believe it's a twin flame, if you believe you're second twin flame or your soulmate, if the problem is with those hierarchies that people are putting on those different soul connections based on the labels. And at one point, I think it's, if anything, we just don't have enough labels, because even at twin flame dynamics, they are such a different scenarios that current state of even dividing them into twin flames and soulmates, honestly, it's not enough. So in my perspective, it's better for you just to adapt this mindset that all of those are beautiful soul connections that are helping us on the journey. Okay, we have the comments. Thank you, Orlia. Something I've been dealing with is a connection with a soulmate who's been through betrayal trauma. I like him, but I just don't have peace about getting into relationship with him, because I feel like I can't be fully honest and fully committed to him. It's been really difficult. I don't know how to resolve this, so I ended up walking away. And I think that's in those kinds of cases that something is telling you it's not correct, because if you continue the soul connection and you would compromise your standards that you've developed, that's more than okay. Like, I call those situations that we are just being a teachers to someone, to teach them that we all have our free will. And I think it's a very good example that you don't push yourself into anything, because the more you walk on the spiritual journey, you will see that soul connection is not super unusual thing, because universe will be orchestrating that based on your current vibrational state. So obviously, if you embrace more spirituality, you will get more spiritual connections. But then it's just another phase. We are not supposed to get engaged with all the spiritual connections, because we all have our trauma to work with, and we all have our personal issues. But some people are just different match than others. And I've had several connections before getting together with Dio, and those were orchestrated, manifested. But for whatever reason, I felt something was off, and something told me to step back. At the same time, I was kind of practicing this, knowing myself and just really standing my ground. And I think that's another point I wanted to say. What helped me is just really studying myself and getting to know myself, my true self. Anything that happened before awakening, very often it's just created by your environment, by your upbringing, all your life experiences. And the separation periods after those turmoils and soul connections that you seem to be just for yourself, that's what's meant to help you with. That's giving you the space to really know yourself, put your standards right, see how much you are really operating from this automatic state, how much even the choice of your partners was influenced by your childhood. So for many people it's very helpful, and I really advise that to everyone. Study yourself in terms of psychology. If you feel like, sign up for a psychotherapy, just to really, not to it's nothing wrong with you and necessarily, it's just a very beautiful tool to get to know yourself and just understand your motivations up to this date, like why you were making those choices, like why you were putting yourself into the situations that were keeping you stuck, that were keeping you maybe even hurting, that were causing you pain. Because the moment you understand that it's really, we are replaying some old stories, that they are not valid anymore, like it's just something that we repeat after our parents or after our environment, as I said, you can just forgive yourself and decide not to repeat those mistakes anymore. But then at the same time you will be building your own standards, right? Like you will see that, oh, probably previous connection, it's just, it was, I was trying to fix someone that was clearly not fixable, and it was just weird patterns that I felt like this empath that I have to save everyone around. The moment you see that, you will be teaching yourself not to get engaged in those kinds of situations anymore. um, so you will be starting creating your own set of boundaries, like healthy boundaries regarding whoever you plan to invite into your life. um, so another thing I wanted to say is, what helps you in the journey from the beginning, but also when you will be engaging in another connections, is don't to take things that are happening too much personally. Because sometimes it can be, you will be still operating from some automatic responses, and very often our mind will be trying to keep us safe, um, even for the sake of keeping you out of the connection, because that's what I saw as well. If you go through some traumatic experiences and you don't want to repeat that ever again, you may find yourself in the situation that will be very suspicious about anything. Like you will be super sensitive to any potential, even potential red flags that can happen um, within the connection. So I've realized that that's what something I had to be really mindful about, just to be more objective in dealing with people, and with the closest connections that I have right now. But really being mindful that as long as you will not get a clear picture, and you will not have this object thinking about the person, and you will be operating from this place of unsafety and just, I have to keep myself safe. Sometimes my mind, our minds, and even hearts, they will want to just keep people at a distance, keep keep being safe, and maybe not being that vulnerable, not to get too attached to someone or too close to someone, because someone can do that again, and someone can break my heart again. So that's probably a good way to observe yourself, how we are, after going through this traumatic emotional experience, especially talking about the separation and these breakups that are happening. That's gonna be very tough test for some people, just to take this choice once again, knowing that you know yourself, knowing that you're okay with yourself and you're not lacking anything and you're peaceful. And are you ready to invite someone else to your field? So you will be becoming more cautious about, again, who are you letting into your circle. Mm. Lorna, I just wanted to make a comment about the traumas in ourselves and others. It's important to be compassionate and respectful with those you walk away from. This is so you don't create more trauma. Oh, that's totally. This understanding that, we all have our traumas, and just with some people you can work more than with others. You just need to really differentiate when the person is just not the right level to join you, to continue, because it would be keeping you down. And it's not coming from the space of the judgment, it's coming more from the space of self-love and appreciating, okay, I've done my part, I've healed myself, I know what the powerful person can achieve and what is possible to achieve. But at the same time, you're giving a space to someone to really embrace their own healing journey and do their own job, right? Because very often we are kind of clinging to someone, or we want to make sure that they are okay, that they are dealing with their own things. But at the same time, it creates this comfort zone for them, that they don't see the issues that they have to work on, because they sometimes those are those cold showers that we all need to have, right? Because the moment you see how much valuable for you was just to be on your own, and even if that was hurtful and you were left out, you can see how much you've grown. So you will be seeing others with the same perspective. It's not, you're not hurting anyone, you're giving them this chance to see the same and find the same thing that you found in yourself. So I think it's very, very important to be ready to leave when necessary, to let go when necessary, especially if you see some patterns that are that are repeating from the past, because um, we tend to attract people who are kind of similar, or they are supposed to teach us something. And the moment we are not be able to recognize, we're gonna be keeping this in our energy field. But as Lorna said, that it should always be with compassion and respect to everyone else's journey, because it's especially for those connections that caused us some harm, or maybe they were taking too much of our time and then we have some regrets after that. I've noticed that for many people, they are keeping themselves in this state of grief, but it's unprocessed grief. It's like they are really not happy that this experience happened to them because it was very painful, but instead of really trying to end it and see it as a one chapter that came to an end, they keep themselves in this pain, in this sadness, in this anger towards other person. And honestly, it doesn't hurt a person, it hurts you. So that's very important step in those connections, especially talking about twin flame connections again, because I see what's going on in the community, how much those people are doing that to themselves. You know, they are getting angry about what their counterpart is doing or not doing, and then they are projecting that on the connection itself. Why the connection, it's just there. It's just, it was for you to experience, it was for you to get some energetic upgrades from this connection. And if you really look down deep, the connection was never wrong. It was always regarded the people and however they were acting towards each other. um, Oh yeah, I experienced a lot of cognitive dissonance about getting into another relationship, because I know that if my twin comes back, I will go to him, and I don't want to hurt another person. In those kinds of situations, it's, I think you need to be ready to go in another soul connection, because even if you, those were the fears that I've noticed several times already, and I've been processing this fear as well, because there is always this, if, what if, how can I know how I'm gonna react? And honestly, what helped me is just to trust that this is right now. I'm working with whatever was presented to me, and of course I'm mindful, and we even had the conversations about it, because I was curious to discuss it, like, do you have those fears that other connection will be coming back? And honestly, what we realized is just, of course it can happen, and especially sometimes the universe will be putting you through those discomfort and these experiences to test yourself. And so far, what we kind of see about those connections is that, of course, the person is still on the planet, they can always reach back to you. But as you grow and as you evolve and increase in consciousness, do you really think that you will be able to connect at the same level that you met originally? because your journey always goes on, and we are having different pace of developments. And even if your twin flame, original twin flame, be coming back, there is quite small chance that on a consciousness level you will be understanding each other so well. Because I think for many twin flame connections, very often if the ignition happens, the consciousness is out of the picture because people are just not on the same state. Consciousness and just awareness of whatever is here and the universe and energies, very often it's something that we learn after, and we are experiencing that in our own pace. So I think being fearful about potentially about your twin flame coming back, just take a look if this won't be keeping you in one spot, that you will be afraid that something that may be happening, maybe in 10 years, maybe 20 years, 30 years, maybe another lifetime. And instead you can always say, what if he doesn't? And what are you potentially losing in your life if you put yourself into this waiting state? And of course there will be fears like, I don't want to hurt another person, but then you have to trust yourself that you will be making your proper choices, and you will be operating from this space of, oh, I understand, I really value the connection I have right now with this another soul connection, and I see how much we grow together, and I see how much it gives me, how much value is this, and how much I benefit from it. And would you be really risking something so beautiful and something so strong that took maybe years or at least months to build? Would you compromise that to maybe try it back with your twin flame? So in those kinds of situations, I can see just one thing that can help you. Potentially, that you're never on your own in this journey. You have your higher self, you have your guides, and you have the universe who orchestrated all the meetings up to this date. And just to kind of have this faith that whatever comes your way, you're able to tackle that and just make the proper choices. And as much as you will be operating from the place of love, everything will be addressed properly. And of course in this case, like, you can always assume that that might happen, that the twin flame will be back, and at some point you will both with your partner even realize that, oh yeah, I think it cannot continue. But just doing this, mm, maybe mental exercise, just put it in the paper. If you have those fears, just to write it down, just make those mental exercises, just to imagine those scenarios and see what I really am mostly afraid of. And can I take responsibility for my choices right now? And will I be able to make a proper choices in the future too? And can I have the proper discussions, healthy discussion, and have this openness? Because as you said, Olya, you said that you're a little bit afraid that there is not openness. Like, any soul connection that you will be building from this moment should be really open. You should not get into a relationship if you feel like you have to hide something, because that's as you would be hiding a part of yourself from yourself. Those conscious relationships should always be built as a transparent connections. At least that's how I feel. It helps so much, because you feel like you can really be yourself and keep your integrity. At the same time, you're entering this beautiful connection, and the other person, of course, that's gonna be reflected in another person. The more transparent you are in a soul connection, the more you will be attracting the people who have the same values. So I think that's another issue, like, or maybe proof that really this twin flame journey is your individual journey. And the more you work on yourself and you embrace those high qualities that your soul wants to embrace here on earth and how it wants to express, that's what you're sending out as a vibrational signal. So that's how we are going to be creating those high level soul connections on earth. So additional thing that was helping me was, as I said initially, just getting to know myself, but also just don't being afraid to expose your subconscious and experiment with that, and just really understanding those, like exploring the connection, your own personal connection with the divine. So of course you're getting a lot of guidance from other people. Some people are like to go for the like twin flame consultations, or you have to be mindful about it because some people are just not operating from the space of wanting to help you. So you have to just use your own um, discernment there. But at the same time, your best guide is yourself, and there is always a space to get back to your communication with your inner self, your higher self, and just to go straight to the source to ask for those confirmations and informations. And one thing is just not to be afraid of hearing the answers, because the moment you will be asking about additional direction, let's say, what am I supposed to do with this period of my current state of my journey, you may start getting hints that you're not ready to hear, and you may not want to believe in that. So I think it's once you will be really embracing and surrendering to the process, there might be some experiences that you necessarily have to experience. There might not be, they might be a bit painful, they might be a bit uncomfortable, but they are for your personal growth. So I think there is a big magic that starts happening once you fully surrender. And by fully surrendering, I mean even accepting, talking about the separation stage again, because I think this is the stage that the most magic is happening, that we are going through the major transformation in this specific period. So that's why it's not about being in pain, it's not about complaining and just getting angry about the whole process. It's about seeing the potential of the whole space that it's giving to you. So it's really to rebuild your inner communication with the universe, choose to upgrade as much as you want and can in this phase. And then finally, that hopefully it's leading you to this state of graduation, you would call it. The moment that you really embraced yourself as a single or individual twin flame, and you decided that your evolution is not dependent on specific person that you met at a present moment, or for however many days or months you were supposed to connect, that you're ready to put this experience on a shelf temporarily, like you have no control over it, and let's see what else the universe has for me. Like I'm ready to evolve further, with or without. That's the key word here, that really like you feel ready. You're not afraid to continue the journey and continue life um, on your own, and you're kind of getting into this excited state that you're excited what life will be bringing to you, that you can see that there is life outside of the twin flame experience. And I think that's a crucial part, because many people, they have issues with their life environment, their 3D situation, as we call, because they lose a balance. They focus so much on their twin flame connection that they stop enjoying their 3D life. That either their work situation will not be going their way, or maybe they will stop having a social circles, and they will be falling out of balance. So everything has to be in the right balance, and it's the journey just teaches us to embrace more dimensions of this life, and it will be asking you to master more and more and more. So once you start dealing with one thing, let's say your professional career will be going into proper state, then you're gonna be shown your other parts of the life that maybe you abandoned, and you will be asked to integrate them piece by piece. So you will see how it's asking you to get to start from spirituality, but just to kind of operate with the rest of your life parts. um, If there are some further questions, I'll be happy to answer. If not, I could give some advices maybe for the healing part, because that's what people are asking too. How do you do your healing? Like, what does it mean to do the healing? And how do I know, is it working if it's not working? And I think that there are several points that you can see if you're doing those things right, if you're not stuck, and if you're progressing. And the key thing is exactly this: like, can you see that you're not stuck anymore? Can you see that your life is changing, no matter of those changes, are they positive, negative? Right now, at the beginning stage, is very hard to assess. Some of those things are simply necessary, but as long as you feel some movement in your life, some newness, some changes, something is being arranged, that's always the good indication, because it will be leading you ultimately to the state that you want to be in. The worst case in this journey, I think, it's to feel really stuck, to see that there are some barriers, some walls, and you feel like you just cannot make the next step. The moment you see that there is some blocks, like roadblocks in front of you, that means that you have to grow, to outgrow this obstacle. So that will be the healing. So the example that comes to me, for example, if you're afraid to be open with another person because you have some intimacy or psychological blocks and you are afraid to be vulnerable, that's example when you hit the roadblock. So you've done some part, you're getting comfortable with yourself, so you created a safe space, so you've healed that part, but you're hitting another wall that will keep you limited. So that will be probably your space, for healing, for improvement. You want to remove those blocks, that anything that you can think of that would keep you in your internal cage, that it would keep you that, I cannot do that, I'm not sure if I'm ready to do that, I'm not sure if I could be doing that with another person. Anything that keeps you like you want to move forward, and it keeps you like, oh, maybe another time. Those kinds of things, those moments will be helpful for you to write down, just um, those areas for improvement. And very often, especially for those twin flame connections, they will be such a beautiful guidelines, because they're those deepest fears, they will be surfacing in this period. So again, uh, taking the person out of the picture, but observing your fears, observing what was really the thing that was paralyzing you about the connection. Were you afraid about losing person, or were you afraid that you will get too close, or were you afraid of, maybe that he will cheat on you? All those things that we are kind of building during this separation, this ignition states, when we are kind of getting close but something is not right, and finally it comes to the separation. But any of those red flags that you felt like you have to hide from them, because you're not proud of this part, like you wish you don't have this trait, you wish you wouldn't that shy, or you wish you were more, maybe traveling more, maybe you wish you had more passion, and all of those things, those, especially those parts that you feel when you're getting into the connection and you feel, oh, I feel like this is the part I have to hide for myself, like I don't think this person would understand, I'm ashamed of this part, I haven't had a chance to grow with this part. All of those things are a beautiful space for improvement. So again, as I said, if you need, you can always talk to some therapists. They are good in just helping you just to dig down, um, and it doesn't have to be spiritually mm, open person. Some psychologists have also those psychic abilities, but even the psychologists that are outside of the spirituality, I think this is especially useful, because you will get this objectiveness, and that will be purely related to your mental state and just moving around this like mental plane. um what else? Is there anything else? Oh, maybe one other thing I wanted to say. um you may see yourself being thrown into experimenting with different people, different connections, different soul connections, but not necessarily. I've had this period in my life, and I'm not sure, probably that will be happening to other people too. Is, for example, imagine you were stuck in time and you had some emotion blocks, or maybe you were engaged in a relationship for way too long from the very young age, and you kind of missed this period of experimenting, this period of freedom, and maybe those emotional experiences, just those doing these crazy things, as a teenager, for example. And you decide that you want to heal this part, this period, this stage as well. Obviously, that one of the ways would be just to have some corrective experiences that would be an opportunity to the kind of relive those experiences that were missing in your life. And you may be finding yourself into um, different soul connections or new people in your life. And here, many people, I think, they are expecting to have all of those and other connections coming to them to be as intense as a twin flame, and they put this block and this requirement that I won't be connecting with anyone who doesn't resonate with me, who is not my twin flame. So this this initial state is it's very high because it's a very strong match on a vibrational level, and you cannot expect those next connections to be as intense. And one thing is because there is something special about this ignition connections, those original twin flames. And I'm still trying to understand. So far I've got like really this is like 100% match, that whatever you needed to get you started on a journey. But then anything after that will not feel as much intense because it's basically it's not gonna be 100%, maybe it's gonna be 90%, 95%. But it's just asking you, are you ready to work with 90%, or are you be keeping yourself restricted to this one single person that may not happen, or are you gonna be working with whatever universe brings you your way? So that's one reason why we don't feel that much intensity in a twin flame connection. But another case, it's as you grow in awareness and you bring more peace into your field, those connections that are gonna be coming to you, they will not be from this act of a passion, or because very often passion and these attractions, it's based on some toxic traits that we didn't realize before, that we are kind of craving something from someone else instead of really trying to connect on a soul level. So that's another indicator that some of those connections that are needed for you for your further growth, they may feel boring, or maybe they may not feel that intense. um, so especially if you're on the journey and you see that you're doing your healing a proper way, that you're dealing with your trauma, that you're working with yourself and the universe, don't judge those connections that are coming to you. Anything that comes your way, you're just starting to be more aware, and you won't be kind of restricting yourself that much. You will be more ready probably to experiment and just give yourself and the connection itself just the time to present itself, what it really means. Like, is it a lesson or is it a blessing? Like, should I pursue that? Should I continue? Or does it show me that I'm trying to repeat the same mistake? So Lorna, I saw my original and it was a test. I have graduated and I'm so happy to give this time and energy to me. Yeah. Actually, I'm kind of curious. Like, did you see, like, what was the level of, in terms like a vibration? Have you felt anything like, are you on the same page, or did you feel this dissonance that you're higher, you've done your part, and you would not be able to match at the same level? That would be curious. But I think that's what will be happening, and that of course it is happening, that those connections are popping up in our life at some point, just because this vibrator like vibrational connection is still there. So it will be orchestrated, not the same at all. So you see, if even if it happens, what there are two camps. Like, some people will say, oh, but this is my twin flame, he got back to me or she got back to me, I'd better pursue the connection. Or you can be in a state that you've done your part, you see, you value yourself, you see how much you've grown, and you just want to be with the same kind of a person that also values self development and has this strong connection with the universe, and that's your priority for the connection. So I think those questions everyone has to answer on their own. And I believe sometimes it's just not easy, maybe, for some people to make this choice. But I think if you choose the evolution and you choose really this higher dimension of the soul connections, meaning just really embracing the consciousness within your connection, it cannot go wrong, because it's guiding you. It's on its own. Those connections are really guiding us, and as long as we want to work with them and maintain peace within them, this person has helped me and I have others. It's all very beautiful. Yeah, and that's this gratitude, right? Because the moment you can see that someone has a lesson and appreciate what the person was showing to us and what the person taught us, I think that's the most beautiful part of this journey, that you're releasing this anger, and you really see how those puzzles are start to keep to get to kind of fall into one place. And especially I think it's the whole journey is such a big lesson of staying humble, and especially those moments when you decide or realize that you don't have a full control over your journey as much as you want. You can either choose to really be in a control mode and be stuck, or surrender to whatever is meant to work with you. And I think, especially talking maybe for people who should do that for their further evolution, like for some people we just need to step back from the connection that is not working anymore. And I'm talking to the people probably who are on the twin flame journey, but they just see that it fell apart and there is nothing on the horizon. It will be asking you to let go of this control and just really step out of something, out of the act of the self love. So it's, if anything, that's a big lesson of self love, all this journey. Like, can you really see that you cannot put another person higher than yourself? If anything, you can, it could be, we should all be equal. But if it's you, your happiness and your progress versus someone else's decisions, you should always choose yourself, because that's, you're the only one who can do that for you. So you have to choose you. Basically, some people are asking, should I choose my twin flame or soulmate? I'm always thinking like, you should just you choose you, and don't, the rest is dealt with the universe. You know, the connection will be guided itself again, as long as you're choosing you. Mm. All right. If there are some other questions, I'm happy to answer. If not, I feel I've covered for now what I wanted to talk to you about. I'm very happy to share, and I appreciate you sharing your experiences as well, because it's super helpful. And hopefully it made sense, those experiences I've been through. I'm very excited to see how it's gonna unfold, and looking forward to the next steps. But it's just, I've learned so far, although for the people who are maybe not aware of the timelines, like I've been on a journey for maybe 3 years right now, that on the awakening journey. My connection was a bit earlier, but this intense development in the 3-4 years that happened, it's beautiful. And I'm really looking forward to just sharing that with people, so they can also embrace their journey. It's all about like how fast you want to evolve, how fast you want to grow, and are you able to break those limitations and those patterns sooner than not later. There is no certain timeline, like there is no rush. You always will reach your end place, but it's just more about you not feeling stagnant in the journey, because really life doesn't want you keep sitting in one place waiting for things to happen. We can really kind of maneuver between those changes and different connections, different experiences. And just maybe last comment to everyone, just don't be so attached to whatever other people are telling you, or whatever the belief system were telling you all these years. If something tells you to experiment and expand, just do it, because you cannot never go wrong with that. um, all right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Lorna. Thanks, Olia, for coming to the chat. And thanks, everyone, for listening. And stay tuned for more. Oh, hi, Rich. Thank you. And good luck.